All right, good evening, everyone. It's good to see the boardroom filled this evening. I just want to say on behalf of the board that we value engagement on all matters affecting our district, from celebrations to complex challenges to future planning. So thank you for being here tonight and participating respectfully. As I call to order the regular school board meeting of Independent School District number 882, it is 6 p.m. on Monday, February 23rd. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. Now we're looking for approval of tonight's tentative agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Melissa Curtis, seconded by Casey Root. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Motion passes 6-0. We do not have item number 4. We do not have any citizen comments this evening. So now we're looking for a motion to approve our consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Melissa Curtis, seconded by Casey Root. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Motion passes 6-0. Moving right along to item number 5, fiscal stability. Item number 6, collaborative connections. On to resolution of acceptance of gifts. I will pass it on to Superintendent Eric Olson.
I'll give a brief overview of the 7 wonderful donations that came forward here this board meeting. First, BJ's Bait and Tackle, $500 for a Monticello fishing team sponsorship. Cargill, $500 for the Monty Python's robotic team. $7,500 from the Minnesota Vikings for our girls' high school flag football program, second year of existence. Northwest Area JCs, $8,000 for the Monticello High School CTE courses. We also have Horseman, who donated $1,500 to the district for the Wellness Day breakfast that we've recently had, and 2 from the American Legion Post 260. One for $1,500 to the girls gymnastics program, and a second one for $1,500 to the boys lacrosse program. Once again, it just ends up being an amazing gift and show of community pride that all of these folks brought forth here today. So I'll turn it over to Jeff for the resolution.
Therefore, be resolved by the Monticello School Board number 882 to gratefully accept the following donations. BJ's Bait and Tackle, $500 for the Monticello fishing team sponsorship. Cargill, $500 for the Monty Python's robotics team. Minnesota Vikings, $7,500 for girls' high school flag football program. Northwest Area JC's, $8,000 for Monticello High School CTE courses. Horace Mann, $1,500 for District Wellness Day Breakfast. American Legion Post 260, $1,500 for the girls gymnastics program. And American Legion Post 260, $1,500 for the boys lacrosse program.
Second.
Moved by Jeff Hegle, seconded by Mary Barthel. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Motion passes 6-0. And as always, our community is just showing up. And what's really encouraging is to see some of these newer programs here to Monticello continuing to get support by our community partners, which is really awesome. So if you guys see any of these people or know if they work for any of these organizations in town, please tell them thank you when you see them. All right, moving on to item B, School Resource Officer Recognition, passing it back to Superintendent Eric Olson.
Yeah, just a proud supporter our district has been for decades of our school resource officers and the work they do in building relationships in our district. And on February 15th, we were able to proudly recognize and celebrate our officers in district as districts did across the state. SROs are an integral partner in fostering safe, supportive, and resilient learning environments for students and school communities. in classrooms and cafeterias, at extracurricular events, and during times of uncertainty. SROs show up with professionalism, compassion, and care. They balance safety with service and helping to develop a positive climate throughout our district. So I just want to give a shout out to SROs. We try to keep up on all the days, whether we're doing social media posts, and I know the building's doing an amazing job of recognizing all of their staff and the amazing work that they're doing. And in this particular case, we just want to make sure that we recognize our SROs from last week on February 15th.
Awesome. I also want to say we've got a lot of staff members in here. You guys all know how integral of a part that they play in our schools and how they form relationships with our students. So again, if you see them in the hallways, please thank them for the hard work that they do to keep our schools safe. All right, on to item number 7, innovation and leadership. The first item on the agenda is the superintendent search addendum and recommendation for our superintendent finalists. And so I'm going to go through some information here just to give an update on where we're at within the process, so bear with me. Tonight I'm pleased to share an update on one of the most important responsibilities this board has, and that's the search of our next superintendent of schools. This past week marked a significant milestone in our process. On February 19th and the 20th, the committee of the board, with support of Ray and Associates, conducted interviews with 7 highly impressive and qualified semifinalists. These candidates represented a diverse range of educational leadership, coming to us from school districts of various sizes and bringing experience from roles such as principal, executive director, assistant superintendent, and superintendent. In total, we had 31 people apply for the position, which is pretty incredible. It shows a lot about our district. I want to emphasize that all 7 candidates were extremely qualified, making our task both a privilege and a challenge. However, our goal was to find the leadership profile that best aligns with the specific needs and aspirations of our school district. After much deliberation and with the invaluable guidance of the feedback provided by our students, our family, our staff, our community members through listening sessions and surveys that they provided, the committee is prepared to recommend 3 finalists to the full board tonight. These individuals have demonstrated the vision and experience necessary to lead our district forward. Pending the board's approval this evening, we will move into the final round of interviews later this week. We invite the public to join us right here in the boardroom this coming Thursday, February 26th, and Friday, February 27th, starting at 4:30 p.m. to observe these final interviews. We continue to value your voice, and attendees will have the opportunity to provide electronic feedback on each finalist during the interviews as well. Thank you to everyone who has participated in this process so far. We look forward to the final stages as we select the next leader of our Monticello Public Schools. So this is an agenda item that's recommended for approval, requesting action be made on the committee of the board, school board's recommendation on the Monticello School Board approve the identified candidates as finalists to interview for the superintendent position on February 26th and 27th, 2026.
Second.
Moved by Jeff Hegle, seconded by Mark Branson. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
No, please say no. Motion passes 6-0. So with the board's unanimous vote tonight, I'm pleased to officially announce our 3 finalists for the position of superintendent of Monticello Public Schools. Moving forward in our search is Miss Janelle Bullard, Mr. Anthony Paternos, and Dr. Chris Swenson. We look forward to welcoming them for our final interviews later this week on Thursday and Friday. All right, on to item number B, State of the District, passing it back over to Superintendent Eric Olson.
2 to 3 weeks, but I was able to get around in the community and do what we've traditionally called as the state of the district. And the state of the district is making sure that your staff has opportunity to hear where everything is at. I get to the chamber so that the businesses know and Chamber is always a really, really robust presentation. I was able to share the presentation with 2 retired teachers this year. I let them share the space and gave some time to make sure that they were able to keep moving the high school library fundraiser going, and then also shared with Dr. Jim Johnson, former superintendent, in hopes that he's able to continue to connect deeper scholarship connections in our district. So, and then also we had 2 family listening sessions. So that's kind of a summary, and you can move forward 2 slides. State of the district, financial reality and next steps. But as we all know, that in June at our updated budget, our school district was under, that's at 8% fund balance policy at that time. And so as we were creating and crafting our story for the community, part of that story was making sure that we staved off a potential $6 million in cuts in 27, 28. And we fully communicated that we would still have potentially around $2 million. It's been very important to us as a district to, throughout the year, be very mindful to all expenditures and make sure that we're trying to stave that off so that our classes have the utmost ability to have low class sizes, and then also students have all the programs that they've been accustomed to. So that's what our focus continues to remain on as a district, is focusing on keeping student programs and making sure that we're very mindful to our class sizes. We are implementing a new budget approach that really just looks at the state new money, because we know with the old money, we were under our 8% fund balance. And so making sure that we have an approach that's more sustainable for our future is something that other districts have been able to begin before we have. And so we have some success stories in knowing how they have successfully implemented, and we've been doing that as well. We've been taking many actions across throughout the school year. One of those actions was in the fall. We had a buildings and grounds director, and when that person sought employment elsewhere, had an opportunity that they couldn't pass up, we just paused and definitely did not fill that position. Ms. Tina Burkholder has been taking many of the responsibilities on herself, and I've been trying to support her as well. We also know that there's some funding sources that we're still waiting to really understand how they're going to be implemented throughout the legislative session. One being ADSIS, which is a new funding source, which we're really grateful for. This is just our first year with that funding source, so we're just not positive exactly what we're going to be able to code, and it's going to take us a year to establish a baseline. And then we also know that the compensatory dollars that we were accustomed to having this current year, our run is showing from the state is showing that it's about $300,000 less than what we're accustomed to. We're hoping through the legislative session that they hold school districts harmless and keep that significant dollar amount at holding us harmless and being able to fund us what we were accustomed to last year. So we just look at all those as a board, so that those were what the community has heard, that we're trying to navigate with the utmost care as we go through the financial and budget season. All right, thanks, Stephanie. If you can just keep it, next slide. Shared themes, in addition to the budget, making sure that both in our survey and our listening sessions, we have topics of interest to families, and some of those interests are listed here. But it's important for families to continue academic growth. So we gave an update on some literacy initiatives that we're working through over the last few years. Obviously, fiscal responsibility, I've already talked about. Facilities and safety, always on the minds of our people, so kind of making that connection to our SROs today. Proud of the things that we are currently doing, proud of the improvements that we make to our building, but it's always a topic that you need to keep on your district priorities. District highlights I'll go to next here, and just kind of do an overall view of first off, just looking at our elementary, what our families heard is just we had principals talking about looking at the character of your kids and making sure that you're building that team atmosphere and building through character strong the skills that it takes to be a good citizen, a good teammate at each of the elementaries. And so they've been working on skills that really lend themselves to being good people. We've always been proud of the work that we do with our civic organizations, and being in the district for 21 years, one of the things I think I'm most proud of, and have been on committees, but now I just get to really watch the work that the staff are doing at Veterans Day and honoring the work and service of our women and men who serve our country has always been a very huge pride for our school. We're really proud of that. But just capturing some of the pictures and the active learning, the things that I believe that our elementaries are trying to implement, along with some very robust and challenging ELA adoptions. So our teachers continue to work through those new mindset and new paradigms of training of the science of reading. And I think from an outsider looking in, while it's grueling, we know that it's going to be good for kids, and we're starting to see some of those results come through in some of our test scores, especially the local test scores is what I'm talking about through Fastbridge. Just moving forward, looking at what a big thing that we had to address with the community is nature base. While we've been proud of nature base for the last 8 years, and we've had different grade levels at nature base, we just really wanted to share with our parents that we're trying to listen and do the things that they're sharing with us. And one of the things that they're sharing with us is they want a continuum. And so we've been, a couple board members here, Chair Sieben and Board Member Rutt, are working with the county to try build a continuum of service for our nature-based program, along with a couple of administrators and myself. And we'll continue on that track. But that continuum of service to have every grade level out at nature base is really looking at a 3 to 5 year plan. And so in the meantime, we have to make some big decisions this year. And so Principal Green has been doing a great job of surveying families, trying to see what grade levels fit out there and gather that information so that as we get through March, we can make some final decisions on what grade levels should be out there, and kind of setting that stage of building a continuum, but knowing that it's a little bit more challenging right now, because currently we have pre-K, K, and then we have grades 4 and 5, so not quite a continuum for sure. And so making those decisions throughout this month is going to be big work. Families that came through the last 2 years that we've done listening sessions, obviously they come there to talk about nature base, but it's great conversation, especially this year. I would say everybody was in a place that they really, as long as we're working towards that continuum, I think they understand that it's just something that we also have to build budget-friendly decisions. And so continuing to do the research throughout this month before we make any final determination that will be brought to the board. All right, moving forward to special education, just looking at special education across our district. We're known for our special education, and I think we are all very proud of that. And we just talked about the level of services for families and for chambers so that they could understand it a little bit more, because sometimes you hear things in the media or you hear things that are just kind of partial pieces of the story. And I think our partnership our collaborative, I should say, with Reverend Sherburne Wright, we have really done our due diligence in Monty programming to build robust 1 and 2, which we've always had, and then we've really done a nice job in the last few years to build levels 3 supports in Monty programming. And then we have that co-op programming for our center-based 3.5 and then our students with behavior challenges in the level 4 program, which both of those programs are either here at the middle school or off-site at our work-based center. So 3.5 and 4 programs have really done a nice job to build some unity and trying to streamline the resources that are used. And so trying to get them closer to each other in proximity and having them in places like the Workforce Center have really been good for the kids, good for the staff to have some of those budget resources under one roof, but then also really good for the budget too, because you're maximizing the people who are working with kids instead of travel time. So yeah, moving forward to our secondary. Secondary is a fun place to visit from grades 6 through 12, but just lots of hands-on experiences. Obviously, we have our traditional content, but then proud of the work that's being done during both middle school and high school, working on making connections to life, of what our students need. Both our high school has been offering lots of different classes, and then our content learning at the middle school of both language and then also with our students in EL, trying to make sure that we are giving robust professional development training so that we're not just teaching content, but we're trying to make connections to content throughout the day. So in action that we've seen in internships, action in class or teachers putting forth new classes, and it's just been a really, I think, exciting time for secondary to build the things that I think make us on the cusp of being that school district that is a leader and front runner, which is fun. Fun to watch. Yeah, so I think the community still is getting to know that, you know, they're used to the picture down in the bottom right, graduation, when they think of secondary, but, you know, they're being introduced to, you know, the STEM class at the middle school. They're being introduced to our ag program that we haven't had in over 30 years, and through those introductions, people get pretty excited, and it's that excitement was what makes our community have that pride of our school system. We're really proud of our arts. We're still one of the only schools around that has a middle school orchestra, and I think when we go to our concerts of our band, our orchestra, and our choir, just that feeling of pride that the community has when they come to those concerts is pretty evident, because they're almost always really packed and vibrant of people just engaged in excitement for the arts. Yeah, if you can go forward, that'd be awesome. Activities and athletics, and when I did this presentation, I was using numbers like 18 and 28, so now I have to change it a little bit. I believe it's 20 and 30. And so out of the 30 opportunities that our students have had in the last year and a half to either go to the state as a team or go as an individual, we've been able to represent the community in 20 out of 30 times, so 2/3. And so what that says is the work that our families are doing, you know, in youth sports, and a lot of people in here are coaches, and then the work that's being done at the high school level to compete at a high level is something that we're very, very proud of. It's great to have the facilities that make you proud, but it's even more proud to have respectful athletes that are showing athletes and entertainers and performers that are absolutely shining in fall musicals and sports across the community. So yeah, pretty exciting stuff. Hopefully, I know I was texting with the board, and pretty exciting gymnastics weekend, and pretty fun to see a state championship, and that brings a lot of community pride.
Double A.
Double A. They were worried last year when they really thought that was a really solid chance. While they were in single A, you get moved up. A lot of our sports programs got moved up, and they're still shining. So I think that's just pretty sweet. All right, moving forward. Listening sessions. This is my favorite listening session, and I think what makes it my favorite listening session is that we continue to involve students in our listening sessions, and when you have students represented at a listening session, it really brings a different perspective, because Their lived experience is really the experience that should guide all of us and what we're doing. At our listen session, we had two student board reps, and we did the same thing last year and just learned how successful it was. But the listening sessions were around 20 people at both session, healthy conversations. We got a little time for, to do small group, breakout sessions. So it was it wasn't just like a coffee chat where people are coming with, questions to bombard one at a time. It was like really to get them in a space of sharing and talking about what they're curious about, what they're proud of in our district. And obviously, had a presentation with the staff as well. I've talked to them. That was my hardest of my 30 years. It's hard to get up in front of people and talk about where we are. It's like a tale of two stories. You're trying to fix something and be proud of the levy, which we all are. Everybody had to do exactly what they had to do for that thing to pass. And then, when it doesn't fix everything, even though we knew that, it's just challenging. And so we navigated that. And then the chamber presentation, I've already shared a little bit, shared the stage, gave a different perspective and feel to that session, but all of them went very well. And I just want to make sure you guys know about that. Next slide. We have a survey out there right now, and so far, when we put this together, 246 people have already responded. Anytime you get in a district our size, and when you get a survey that is a district level survey, and we've only sent one reminder that gets 200 responses, that's kind of common. So we're already a little over that. Plus we had the listening session where we gained some data from there, and we'll continue to bolster this. It closes this at the end of this week, and we'll make sure that we bring forth that data that we're collecting at a future board meeting so that you can see that throughout this budget season, so it'll be in March. All right, next slide. Yeah, just as a summary, we know what we're trying to do, but just making sure that we continue our eye and focus on the center part of our strategic priorities, which is our students, maintaining stable class sizes and keeping programs for students will be our goal. Strategic plan, it's important to continue to engage in those types of engaged listening sessions. I know we worked as an admin team after the family listening sessions, and couple questions were posed, but how did you feel about attending those and being part of those? How could you use them in your building with your staff and with your families? So we're thinking of if you're really going to be a district that has two-way relationships, not just communicating out, you have to keep being mindful at doing these things that are a little bit hard. I guess unfortunately, I'm more comfortable with them because I started them, as a principal, and I've done them for years. Went through COVID with coffee chats, and so opening myself up is something that I'm comfortable with doing, but it's something that that you have to build into the culture of the system, and we're still trying to find ways to do that more. But we're proud of what we're doing, and we'll continue to move those forward. And I just think with the community trust, it's that continuing that open dialogue and momentum that we shared. I think what was cool during the operating levy is that what a lot of people won't know, but many who were at those places, but there were a couple that were pretty heated. But when you stay in the game and you talk about finances in a place that in the end everybody walks away productive, and even though their taxes were going up, and we passed, I think it's some of those conversations that led to a successful vote as well, because we didn't shy away from it, and every board member was very engaged. And like I said at the beginning of my presentation, like everybody, so every text you sent, every conversation you had, whether it was on a Friday night at a Legion, whether it was at a youth basketball tournament, like everything had to happen. A little over 300 votes is not that much, and I think I mean, I feel very blessed and proud to have been part of that open dialogue that we created across this community about education, because that open dialogue should be happening, because our future are our kids. And if you're not willing to talk about them and make things better for them, then we're not going to have a very bright future. So thanks for that engagement. And then just a summary on the last slide, but who are we? I mean, just a reminder, our strategic priorities should be continually driving us. I've talked a little bit about our students at their core, but our strategic priorities that we've had for the last 8 years that continually be refreshed, but I'm sure the new superintendent will want to really dive into this. And either grab onto everything, or probably tweak or go through a process that that they have at their core. But I don't think our strategic priorities will go away, but it's just how they're used and maybe what data you collect from them and how people talk about them in classrooms. I know when I've got the chance to speak in classrooms, one of my favorite things is when kids can name that. And in this case, I was talking about in a class this year where high school students could name the 4 strategic priorities. And so when that becomes alive and breathing, that's when good things will happen for our people. So yeah, with that said, I'm looking forward to just being able to see who that next person is and begin working with them, because it's a huge transition, one that you guys are not taking lightly, and that makes me also so proud. So just connecting the state of the district to the very times, and one of the very times that you've spent several weeks on as a full board, but the whole weekend on as the board of the committee, and last week, the hours that you've already put into that makes me very proud. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the regular update. Board members, do you have any questions for Superintendent Olson? Questions? I do. So for the listening sessions, when you update us on the data information, is that when you'll update us on the information collected from the listening sessions as well?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And then I just wanted to call out some of the things that you had mentioned. I just thought this was an interesting connection, that out of all of our candidates that we're interviewing for the superintendent position, certain things were mentioned for why they applied for our position here in Monticello. Our nature-based program was appealing. Our Pathways program at the high school was appealing. Vision of a Learner, our orchestra program, as well as the amazing reputation of a lot of our district staff throughout the state. And so I just wanted to give a shout out with that, because it aligned with some of the pictures and the stuff that I saw you noting that I think is pretty cool, and it's why people around Minnesota even talk about Monticello as being a pretty awesome place. So, all right, now we'll move on to item number 8, safe and healthy culture. First item on the agenda is our custodial and maintenance 2025 to 2027 master agreement. And help me welcome to the podium Director Rob Daniker.
Thank you, Chair Sieben, members of the board, Superintendent Olson. So this year, we had 6 of our 9 organized units up for a round of negotiations, and I'm excited to bring forward our second tentative agreement from the current cycle. And then just a preview for the board, in coming meetings, we're expecting to bring forward the food service tentative agreement as well, along with our administrative assistant tentative agreement shortly thereafter. But tonight we're focused on the custodial maintenance employees. This is for board action this evening. A little background, a tentative agreement was reached regarding the 25 to 27 master agreement with the custodial maintenance employees on Thursday, January 2nd, 2026. The agreement was ratified by the unit on Friday, February 13th of 2026. And district administration recommends that the Board of Education approve this agreement. The essential elements of this of this tentative agreement include the following. So in year 1 on the wage scale, there's an increase on all cells of 0.9% retroactive to July 1st. No dollars towards group insurance in year 1. Same for longevity and pay differential. In year 2, there's an increase on all cells of 1.0%. In year 2, an increase of $30 per month on both single and family contributions in year 2 as well. However, no increase on longevity or paid differential in year 2 either. In terms of language items, there was minor gender cleanup throughout. We also put some language in regarding Monticello branded headwear, just a professional appropriate look. And to that extent, the district has agreed to a one-time distribution of 1 hat to each unit member as well. Deferred matching contribution. We amended the deadline to enroll annually in deferred matching contribution plans to align with the annual group insurance open enrollment deadline. You might remember that our group insurance annual cycle begins October 1st, and so we do open enrollment in September. And so this would align that deferred matching contribution deadline to that same date that would be amended annually. Job posting. The agreement amends the job posting section of the contract by adding maintenance positions to those positions such as head custodian, lead custodian that are now subject to employer interview before hire. Leadership stipend, the district has agreed to provide leadership stipends for each year of the agreement to each of our head custodians at each of 2 sites experiencing the highest rates of facility rentals. And so we have quite a bit of push from community education to utilize those 2 venues. And so we're making appropriate accommodations therein. And then finally, memorandum of understanding regarding head, lead, and maintenance position interviews. The district has agreed to include at least 1 unit member on each of those interview committees for head, lead, and maintenance positions through June 30th, 2027. Generally, that's best practice. We do that anyway, but we agreed to at least put it in writing just for memorialization in this contract. The total package value over 2 years is cost at 4.75% MSBA. And again, that is within the budget parameters as established by the board. And so again, the district administration is recommending that the board approve this agreement.
Board members, pending your questions, this is an action item.
Go ahead.
I make a motion to approve the master agreement as presented by Rob Daniker.
Second.
Moved by Jeff Hegle, seconded by Mary Barthel. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you very much, Director Daniker. All right, on to second reading of policy. I will pass it right back to Director Daniker.
Thank you, Chair Sieben. So for action this evening, we have 2 policies coming forward. The first is Policy 709, Student Transportation Safety. The purpose of this policy is to provide safe transportation for students and educate students on safety issues and the responsibility of school bus ridership. Recently, there was some events locally and in the state of Minnesota that caused us to review this policy as a committee. As a reminder, the policy committee meets once per month to go through policies that are brought forward for that agenda. In this section, we are proposing to amend the section on parent-guardian responsibilities for transportation safety to include a reminder that parent-guardian supervision for all children under 8 years of age should be in line with Wright County Child Protection procedures and state of Minnesota expectations as well. That is the only change for Policy 709, and I'll take any questions on that policy. And the second and final policy this evening is Policy 906, Community Notification of Predatory Offenders. The district first adopted this policy in 2019. It has not been revised since then, so it was brought forward as part of our review cycle. There were some minor changes in terms of organization of the policy and some minor changes based on statutory updates since 2019, but no substantial changes to 906. Any questions on that one? Okay. These are for action.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Jeff Hegle, seconded by Casey Root. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say no. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you, Director Daniker.
Thank you.
All right, and that brings us to the next item on our agenda, which is adjournment at 6:39 p.m. Our next regular school board meeting will be March 2nd, 2026 at 5 p.m., though we will be having our special school board meeting February 26th to the 27th, this Thursday and Friday at 4:30 p.m. for the purpose of conducting the interviews with our finalist candidates for the position of superintendent of schools that the entire public is welcome to attend. I see a lot of familiar faces in here tonight. It was great for you to all come